Hello, I'm Steve Bustin from Get Your Voice Heard. I help individuals and organisations to become brilliant communicators. And in this video, I want to give you some strategies and some tools for making sure your online communications and especially your online networking are as effective as possible. Now, the first thing I want to just mention is how you answer that innocuous little question that comes up every time you meet somebody at a conference or a networking event, or quite frankly online, and that's, what do you do? And it is such an innocuous little question that we quite often give innocuous little answers. Now, the worst answer here is people just deliver their job title, or they recite the first paragraph of their LinkedIn profile. Now, that just tells me who you are, not what you do. And that's an important difference. So when somebody says, oh, what do you do? Turn that question around and answer it as if they just said, what could you do for me? So it's not your chance to talk all about yourself and your achievements. Talk in terms of the person who's just asked you that question, whether that is in a chat box online or whether that is somebody you're talking to on camera or face to face. Talk in terms of what you do for your clients or your colleagues. Talk about the difference you make to their lives, to their businesses, and actually focus on the benefits you bring rather than the features of what you do is a good way to think about it. So if you can answer that question, what do you do, in terms of what I could do for you, you're actually going to make a connection far faster. So don't fall into the mistake of just telling somebody your job title or just reading off what you do on a day-to-day basis. Tell them how you could make a difference to them and their business. Something else that I hope goes without saying is that people do need to be able to check you out online. Now, I'm not talking about Tinder here. I'm talking about those online profiles that so often people leave blank. If you're attending an online event and the website or the app or whatever platform they're using has an opportunity for you to set up a profile, take it. Fill it in. Add a photo. Add details. Add a list of who you would be interested in connecting with. Give yourself the best possible chance of making the connections that you want to make while you're online. People don't want to have a conversation with a blank profile or somebody who's just hiding behind an avatar or just an indistinct photo. The same is also true of LinkedIn. LinkedIn has suddenly become incredibly important as we start to build these connections online. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is complete. Make sure that it is up to date. Make sure that it has a photo and a banner photo across the top of the profile. Little tip, on that banner photo, embed your phone number, your email address, that sort of thing in that detail so it's right there for people to see. They don't have to hunt through finding your contact details. Another trick for any online profile, whether it's LinkedIn or on another website, is don't go for big blocks of text. Break them up. Use bullet points. It makes it far easier for read. People can scan through it much faster. They can pull out the pertinent points. They're not having to try and parse the information you've put up there. So keep it clear, keep it simple, keep it direct, keep it up to date, but make sure that you are there. Now, another thing that I hope goes without saying in this day and age is you've got to get the basics right of being on camera and connecting online. Tip number one, make sure the camera is at eye level. Now, at the moment, I'm filming using a video camera and it's jacked up on a tripod. Those are sat on boxes, those are sat on books to make sure that it's at the right level. But if you're sat at a desk using the webcam in the top of your laptop, make sure that it's on a book rise, make sure it's on a stand, whatever it is that you use to get that camera at eye level. People don't like chatting if all they're getting is a view straight up your nostrils or over the top of your head. So make sure the camera's at eye level. It means that you are looking eye to eye, and make sure that you actually look at the camera, not at the picture of you or even the picture of the person you're talking to, but at the camera so you make eye contact. Another thing you should bear in mind is the light. Good rule of thumb, make sure there is more light in front of you than there is behind. So if you are sat at your desk, make sure you've got lights in front of you. If you've got a window behind you, if necessary, close the curtain, close the blinds. Otherwise you're going to be silhouetted, people can't see you properly, and it's much harder to make connections with people we can't see. Another point on this is remove all distractions. Don't multitask. We've all been on online calls on Zoom or whichever platform we're using, and you're aware that people are sat there scrolling through their phones, they're looking at another screen over there, they're petting their dog, or perhaps worst, they're sat there typing away. Quite often you can even hear the tippy-tapping of the typing. Get those distractions out the way. If you want to make a genuine connection with someone online, you've got to focus on them. If you and I were stood in a room having a conversation and I suddenly got my phone out, or I started petting my dog, or God forbid I started typing, you would think me incredibly rude. And the same goes of online connecting. So focus on the person you're talking to, remove the distractions, turn off notifications, and actually it'll make for a much more rewarding conversation for both of you. I'd also say don't use the mute button during a conversation. Because again, if we were having a conversation face to face and I suddenly... Again, it just wouldn't work. And actually as a conversation, if I can see that you've muted yourself, I think, what are they hiding? Even worse is if you mute me and suddenly you're cutting me off. So these are all just about online etiquette, but all these things can break that connection. So make sure you just follow some of this best practice. Online communications also need the 3 E's: energy, eye contact, and engagement. Now, energy is crucial. Think about how you would normally speak if you were really passionate about something. And you need to put that into all your online communications. Because talking to a camera, whether you are talking one-to-one or maybe you're talking one-to-many if you're presenting at an online conference, you've got to have passion for your topic. If you don't have passion and energy for your topic, why should your audience care? So you've got to give it energy, and that's going to be about the body language, make sure the audio is good so people can hear you clearly, and it's going to be about just the way you put yourself across, the language you choose, the animation you choose to use. So make sure that you've got energy. Eye contact, as I've already mentioned, make sure you keep eye contact with that camera. If your eyes start wandering around, people lose eye contact with you, and actually you start to look a bit shifty. If I start looking down, it's what people do when they're lying or they're unsure. Confidence is about making eye contact with the person you're talking to and holding it. And the last one's engagement. One of the issues around online communications is that our attention span on the whole tends to be shorter. So keep it short, sharp and punchy, and make it a conversation. Really, even a 30-minute keynote to camera is tough for an audience to watch. Make sure that within that you've got engagement. Use all the tools, use the polling, use the engagement tools, use whiteboards, all those sorts of things to give people something to do to engage. Make sure it's a conversation, it's a two-way process, and an audience will stay with you far more. If you're just talking at the camera for 30 minutes with nothing else for them to look at, those distractions are going to seem very tempting indeed. So let's talk a little bit more specifically about online networking. Now, one of the things I think a lot of people feel about networking is it's all about meeting new people. And I would venture to suggest that you should also be networking with the people you already know. Go back to regular contacts, not just clients, but people you've met. Think about the people that you only tend to meet at conferences, meetings, and events. Chances are they're also going to be hanging out at the online conferences, meetings, and events. So set out to connect with them there. Say hello. Keep that relationship going. Don't be scared to go back to your existing network and ask for things before you try to build a new network. So go to that network and tell them what you need support with, maybe what sort of contacts you're looking for, what sort of help you need right now. But be specific. The more specific you can be about the type of help and contacts and networking, etc. that you need, the more likely you are to get it from your network. So be specific about the companies you're trying to reach or the type of job description you're trying to reach. Be specific about the types of help, problems you're having, all that sort of stuff. And actually, the more specific you are, the easier it is for other people to answer, respond, and help. So think about what's in your existing network. I'd also say, as you start to try to build a new network, and I have completely forgotten where this third point is. And while you're at it, do some research. For most events, you may not now see a delegate list, but you'll certainly be able to find a list of exhibitors and of speakers. And you may well be able to work out who else is going to be attending the conference, either thinking about who you've met there before, or by looking at who's using the hashtag on social media in their preparation for the conference as well. Go through the people who are going to be there and think about who you would like to meet. And reach out to them in advance. Can you set up an online meeting in partnership with the conference? So, look at the events you want to attend in that conference. Think about when there are gaps in the program and set up online meetings there in exactly the same way you would in an offline meeting. A little bit of research can really help you to build connections as well. Now, I'm not saying here stalk people, but just look around what they're doing online. Don't just look at their LinkedIn profile. Look at them on Twitter. Maybe even on Facebook. Look at their website. Look at their blog. Do they have a podcast? Get a feel for who they are as people. Because, okay, cliche alert, people buy people, but actually we do make connections with people as individuals. If you know that one of the key people you want to meet at this online conference happens to be really interested in, say, cycling, you can actually, if you're interested in cycling as well, you've got an in there straight away. What do you have in common with the people that you want to meet beyond just business? It's so much easier to start a conversation if you've got a range of things to talk about than if all you really want to say is, please will you buy from me? So do some research, get to know who you want to talk about, and find out what you've got in common. Now, I think that when you are communicating with anybody online, particularly when you're networking, you have to go into it with a mindset of generosity. You have to go into it thinking, how can I help these people? Not just, how can they help me? Or what can I get out of them? Think about how you might be able to support this person, give them help, introduce them to the people that they want to introduce, and think about how you can be generous, possibly physically. Now, one of the things that's worked for me, for example, is if I'm chatting to somebody at an event, they might mention that they are struggling with a particular issue. If I know of a book that can help them, I'll go onto Amazon, I'll buy it and I'll send it to them. Or I'll send them a link afterwards to a blog or a podcast or another resource that I think could be of use. And I have to say that's worked very nicely for me. But if you're going to go into these sorts of conversations with a generosity or giving mindset, don't necessarily expect reciprocity. It's not, if I give you this piece of information or I give you this introduction, you will give me that. No, it might not happen. It might not happen immediately. But if you go in expecting tit for tat, shall we say, I give you, therefore you give me, actually that's not generosity, that's not reciprocity, that's a transaction. So go into it with a mindset that says, right, I'm going to help as many people as I can at this online event, and that will earn you a lot of brownie points. And you'd be amazed, a lot of people will set out to reciprocate, so you will get what you want. Now, in the way that we are hearing a lot about hybrid events at the moment, so events that we think will combine online and offline, I'd encourage you to think likewise around your communications. Your communications may well be starting online these days, but think about taking them offline in some circumstances as well. And here's an interesting question. If somebody says, let's have a call on Zoom or Skype, is anybody still using Skype? Anyway, if somebody asks you that, that's very clearly an online communication. But if that person says, can we have a phone call? Or shall I give you a ring? Is that online or is that offline? Now, I don't have an answer to that, but I think it's interesting. And actually, sometimes mixing old technologies and new technologies can make a real difference. So actually, one of the things that can work incredibly well is post. At the moment, people are really enjoying getting post, particularly if it's personalised. Handwritten notes, a handwritten card can be a great way to build connections by taking your online connections and taking them offline. Anyway, to sum up, I would really encourage you to think critically about your online communications. What are you doing right now? What's working? What's not working? What could you change up a bit? Quite frankly, having watched this, if you just do one thing, that's great. Change something. Change your approach, change your plans, change the channel you're using, quite frankly. Now, if you'd like to have a chat about this, I'm always happy to chat. We can jump on Zoom, we can have a Skype even. You could write me a letter. So you can email me if you want to go old school. I'm steve@stevebustin.com. You can look at my website, getyourvoiceheard.co.uk. Obviously, you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can give me a ring, and you'll find my number on my LinkedIn profile and on my website. Check out my YouTube channel. Please do subscribe. The buttons are down below. I'm youtube.com/stevebustin. But yeah, let's connect. We're online. But actually, that doesn't matter. We can make just as great a connection online as we can off. And let's face it, that's the future. Thanks for watching.